people hear this and know that 90% of our brain develops before 6. 90%, which means what we do now becomes the foundation of who you become. And that's why the impressions you lay now are going to last forever. And that's why childhood matters. And that's why, as educationists who are working in early years, should be more responsible about the impressions we have on our students, and so shall parents.
So, good afternoon from ESFE 2025. Today we're here with Ms. Shraddha Shah Raitar. We're so thankful to have you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, ma'am. So, as a preschool principal and a parenting coach, what core values guide your approach to shaping young minds for the tomorrow of India?
Core values to shape tomorrow. I think values have been evolving just like we are evolving, but something that stays true, that was and that should continue to be the core, would be kindness, because it's very, very important to have kindness. And the second value I think that is really crucial in today's day and time is leadership. So you want leadership with kindness. I think these two cores really are necessary in the coming years.
Yes, ma'am. So, as you said, kindness is very important. Why would you say that developing young minds at a very early stage in life is very important for their trajectory, for how their lifespan will continue?
It's interesting you asked that, because I don't know if everybody knows this, but I hope more people hear this and know that 90% of our brain develops before 6.
Wow.
90%, which means what we do now becomes the foundation of who you become. And that's why the impressions you lay now are going to last forever. And that's why childhood matters. And that's why, as educationists who are working in early years, should be more responsible about the impressions we have on our students, and so shall parents.
100%. So, as you mentioned, parents, right? So, what are the biggest challenges that you've realized within families itself, whether it be misconceptions or just not understanding the importance of their child's growth?
I think if I have to name a few common misconceptions or common, I can't say mistakes, but repeated patterns that I wish families would change, maybe one of them would be early sleeping. I think there are three main factors why today's younger children are having a hard time to self regulate. We're talking always about emotional intelligence, and children are so sensitive. So, if you feel that's happening in your house, I think three most important things. One is sleep early. We all did it as kids, but today it's not happening. I know that parents are working, and I have so many parents saying, so when should I spend time with the child? But it's really not the child's fault. A child needs a routine whether you work or not. Early to bed, early to rise is not just a saying, it's true. Second is play. Today's children do not play. They don't scrape their knees, they don't fall anymore, and they complain about every little ache. So when I say play, I don't mean classes. Football classes, badminton classes, tennis classes. I mean play. Play on the ground, run, figure themselves out, be with the different age groups, fight, you know, sort their own selves out and play, releasing all their energy so that they're ready for bed. And third would be screen time. I'm sure everybody here is facing that. So again, control screen time, idea of what your child is watching and how long he's watching. So I'm going to repeat this: early to bed, control screen time, and a lot of physical play. I think these three
I
things could really
completely
sort things.
agree, and I've seen this firsthand as well. So, as you just mentioned, some of these challenges, right? So, what inspired you to start your personal cats learning center, and what has your journey been like? And have you had any perspective changes through this journey as well?
Well, I was 5 when I wanted to be a teacher, and I keep saying this, and it's really true. I'm living my a dream. Not many people pursue what they want to do when they're children, and it was so natural for me because I'm extremely passionate about teaching that I didn't even realize when it became a profession. And I'm honored to be an educator last 2 decades now. My first student is probably older than you. uh, so it's been a really, really long time since I'm doing this. What inspired me is I wanted to make a difference, and if you want to make a difference, there are many, many things one can do. One of them is teaching young minds, because you're shaping the youngest mind and helping them to have a stronger tomorrow. And that's why my preference of early years was very clear from the start, because in early years you don't need a textbook. In early years, you are the textbook, which means I can be creative, I can be dynamic, I can be engaging, my curriculums can be intrinsic and not controlled by any board, which means that we can actually learn through inquiry and play. So over the years, if I have to answer that question, my perspective changes. Now with the last few years, um, one of the things I think that early schools or all schools should be able to get into their school systems, which I did, is collaborative play. Like today, collaboration has become a big job because children are single at homes, nuclear families. They don't know how to play together or how to think together. So that's collaboration. And the second thing would be reflections. This is something we practice in cats, and I really believe that it should be a perspective that all educators should imbibe. Reflections, which means you ask the child, instead of telling the child what you did was right or wrong, you're questioning the child, like how could you do this different, like we're thinking together and solving. So when a child is reflective, he's responsible, and hence he's growing into that kind leader that we want.
Right. That was wonderful how you tied it back to your core philosophy.
Thank you.
So, as you mentioned, within the past 2 decades, right, you've had certain reflections of your own. So, as the industry overall, how what would you say is the one key takeaway or one key transformation in India that's been taking place, which is in a positive way?
In a positive way, good you mentioned that. I think in a positive way would be that I think parents are more open minded now, and so have finally educators gotten more open minded. So when I say open minded, everybody agrees that A doesn't have to be for apple. A can be avocado, A can be, many other things, right? So we've come a long way from the academic approach, and now slowly but surely everyone realizes that just academics isn't enough. So, earlier in our days, we had extracurricular activities. Now, all the schools are slowly making it co curricular activities, which has been a great change because now you're saying sports, drama, music, communication skills, all are equally important to math, science, and English.
100%. So in the real world where there's so much competition, pressure, how would you say parents should maintain this balance with to shape their children's mind to be responsible and be level-headed?
I think as parents, we should all calm down. I'm a mother of two, and the pressure is immense because today, I'm sure parents will agree that everybody wins some trophy or some certificate or some medal. It's not as hard as our days because now even schools are afraid that children can't accept failures, and every little success is celebrated on WhatsApp. As much as you want to celebrate these successes, we as parents need to be conscious that we teach, and even educators join this teaching philosophy to help our children learn how to fail. See, failing is as important as succeeding, and if we don't encourage that, the pressure will never ever go. So, compete, win, fail. Failing is probably more important than winning all the time. And as a system, both parent and educators, we are failing today. If anybody fails, they give up life, they're doing things which are very very tragic. Nobody is accepting anything but number one. So I think to remove the competition, we should accept that children fail, encourage that. You be ready as a parent that every child has a different strength. Not everybody is a swimmer, not everybody needs to be good at math. Find out your child's skill and strength and sharpen that instead of doing what everybody else is doing. If you can focus on your child's ability to thrive, if you recognize the learner he is, you and your child both are on the route to success.
100%. It's about not being fearful of them falling down, but allowing them to get back up, right?
Correct.
So
Maybe less micromanaging.
100%. Uh, I think one key takeaway I think would be just enabling knowledge, right? So I think ESFE itself is also a good platform of allowing knowledge to be held in one roof with so many educators and individuals and profiles alike to come under one roof and have these important discussions. What are your thoughts about having an important platform like this?
No, I think it's amazing. I have been here since morning, and I'm so happy to meet so many leaders, innovators, principals, founders, teachers, everybody under one roof without egos. Everybody is greeting, appreciating each other's work. So I think platforms like these are so inspiring because we're all, I'm sure, going to have something to learn from each other and take it back home and imbibe it in our own schools.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you.
I've definitely learned a lot from you as well. And yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mark your calendars. October 6th, 7th, and 8th. NESCO, Mumbai, the center of the educational universe. The biggest names are already there. Are you? Secure your spot. Register now at 9892227245 or visit our website